I created a one-page newsletter in our region which promotes upcoming activities and also to recognize accomplishments. It was designed to be both informative and entertaining. This Team Northern newsletter was concerned with a variety of overlapping issues, including wellness, diversity, and safety. These categories are so closely connected and interrelated that their goals are naturally complementing. I have found that mixing medicine with a lot of sugar works quite well. And what part of us is particularly delighted with sugar? Our inner child, that wonderful common aspect in all of us. I have borrowed inspirational and funny stories from various sources, such as Chicken Soup for the Soul or amusing anecdotes from Bits and Pieces. These are guaranteed to bring a smile or touch a heart and in some ways stimulate that healing energy. Employees are another great source of stories. Once you get started, people are reminded of something that happened in their own lives. My desired objective for this newsletter and the wellness program itself was always that it be perceived as helpful and enjoyable. Please remember that you don't have to do any of this all alone. There's a multitude of resources out there. Ask for help from those who are gifted in certain areas or are inspirational in the way they already live their lives. Ask them to help by sharing their knowledge and talents. Ask them to help make a difference. It's been my experience that in general, people want to help and they are flattered to be asked. One such employee in our organization gave up his lifelong habit of cigarette smoking and decided to take up running. He now runs in local marathons. People who know him are amazed. By his example, he has given hope and encouragement to those around him. He's also been delighted to share his story at our Stop Smoking events. Now may be a good time to review some of the more important qualities to look for in selecting an effective coordinator. I will discuss factors that have made a big difference in our company locations that have been most active in implementing wellness programs. First, management must support and actively participate in the events. Leaders in the organization should set the example. Second, the program coordinator must be willing to listen and be responsive to the needs of the group. They must be sensitive to their needs. Third, the leader must enthusiastically believe in the program and have the respect of his or her peers. This requires the leader to be able to motivate. Fourth, the organization must provide the time and resources required to plan and implement the wellness programs. Lastly, the organization must provide its employees with ongoing education and training. It's important that the coordinator be aware of the latest in healthcare developments. Beware of one of the most common pitfalls to having a successful wellness program: the do as I say, not as I do attitude. It does not work. It didn't have credibility when we were younger, and it's still a poor substitute for sincerity. Choose people who walk their talk. Avoid giving mixed signals. To give an example from our organization, our stretching program was initially not well received by those who adhered to the old school work ethic. This group favored a hard-at-work image. Participation in these exercises did not support this group's more traditional values. Supervisors did not participate in the exercises, claiming they just didn't have the time, they were much too busy. The message this conveyed to employees was that in order to be viewed favorably, they needed to take the example of their supervisors and act as though they too were too busy to participate. Management must give more than lip service in order to achieve successful wellness programs. Insist, if possible, that management be directly or indirectly involved and visibly present at all the events. This will send a clear message of support. If possible, suggest that the management review process include accountability for the success of this program. Now, having said that, I'd like to balance it with the notion that we are all works in progress and that we are doing the best that we know how. Obstacles are opportunities that challenge us creatively. Ask yourself, how can this obstacle be turned into a win-win situation? If the answer is obscure, then wisdom sometimes directs us to strive for small victories and trust that time is on our side. Seek help from those who demonstrate a sincere and caring nature. A particularly effective person is one who has overcome some personal challenge in his or her life and has subsequently been impassioned by the experience. It's important to reiterate at this point that this is a program of attraction and thus not mandatory. Sometimes the best we can hope for is that our efforts serve to plant seeds. We may not directly see the fruits of our efforts. A strong belief in the positive properties of this program may be the only thing you have to hold on to at times. Take heart. Miracles happen all the time. What will the future be like? We are quickly moving away from today's short-sighted healthcare model to a new model, where the emphasis is placed on a longer-ranged healthcare goal. The emphasis is moving from one that focuses on disease to one that focuses on wellness. Today we accept that the more sick people there are, the more the healthcare industry profits. Tomorrow, we will realize that the more healthy people there are, the more everyone profits. Today, surgery and drugs are used to treat disease, while tomorrow, health education will be used to prevent and at least postpone such diseases. Today, we see death as something to be prevented at all costs, while tomorrow we will allow patients to die in comfort and with dignity. Today, our healthcare system focuses on technology. Tomorrow, the healthcare system will focus on caring through a human and personal touch. Today, healthcare issues are centered around physicians and lawyers. Tomorrow, healthcare issues will focus on patients and their families, such that professionals other than physicians will play vital roles as educators and healers. While today's emphasis is on hospitals, tomorrow's emphasis will be on home care and other non-hospital facilities. Today we focus on the physical body, while tomorrow we will focus on the mind-body-soul connection. From a spiritual perspective, we are focusing much more on the whole person. We are accessing more and more information about who we are, relevant to every experience. The outside world is a direct mirror of how we're doing. If we prefer a different reality, we need only to check to see what thoughts are being entertained about the situation. Put another way, you don't get peace by hating war, you get peace by loving peace. I would like to conclude by offering you some suggestions that will increase the probability of success of your wellness program. I have found the following steps to be a useful approach. Obtain support from upper management, including labor and a financial commitment. Create a mission statement to establish a clear understanding of your objectives. Form a committee of interested employees to explore possibilities. Encourage the development of ideas and suggestions from all levels of the organization. Provide a service that your employees want and will use. Establish means of communication. Determine the most effective ways to promote the program. Offer incentives, such as free t-shirts, or let workers accumulate points toward other fitness-related items. Maintain a culture of wellness. Examples of this would be to offer healthy food choices in the cafeteria or vending machines. Have a special no smoking policy and ban on alcohol at your functions. And a walking path both inside and outside your building. Establish, maintain, and publish a calendar of wellness events. Make it easy to participate in the activities. Consider the cost, time of day, how far participants have to drive, and child care availability. Offer flexible hours so employees can exercise. If you have an empty room, turn it into a mini gym with mats and exercise equipment. Educate, establish a resource directory utilizing all available local and community sources. Keep a library of wellness information in an employee snack bar or lounge. Designate one bulletin board for health-related news. Hold seminars on healthy eating, weight loss, stress management, and smoking cessation. Large nonprofit organizations can often provide you with free speakers. Network with existing established wellness programs in other companies to exchange ideas. Be flexible and responsive to employees' changing needs. Honor all differences while at the same time striving to remove that which separates and fosters fear. Always seek a healing path. Enjoy the process and become a personal example of this program. Lighten up. Do not take yourself too seriously. All organizations expecting to compete successfully in the third millennium will necessarily have to invest in this type of program. And understanding its goals, benefits, and requirements is essential in a workplace increasingly more dynamic and technologically based. Human wellness strengthens our inner self, our spirit, our productivity, and our interactions with the environment. Let's make it a priority in our organizational and home lives and integrate spirituality, health, and wellness into a single formula for productivity, well-being, and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Let us continue with the second question and answer session. And our first question comes to us today in the second session from the Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos in Lima, Peru. And the question is, how can you possibly instill or promote the concepts of spirituality, health, and well-being in an organization or organizations whose leaders are authoritarian and have a non-humanist mentality? Ms. Poindexter, would you address that one, please?
Thank you. Yes, I think that is an extremely important question. And my best suggestion is that the outcome cannot be focused on because that will limit your expectations and not allow you to enjoy the process. Always be a statement for the program that you want to install. Make sure that the way you live your life radiates out and affects everybody who knows you, and be willing to release attachment to a specific goal. I think that will make your life a lot easier and facilitate the process.
Right, so concentrating on the process of well-being and spirituality is more important than actually having an outcome necessarily.
Yes, it'll make it easier for you to sleep at night.
Very good. Okay, let's take our second question. Okay, and this question is coming to us from the Universidad de Sonora, Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. Yes, caller. The question, please.
Sí. Good morning. Greetings to all of you. We're calling from Sonora University. We have three questions. Basically, one of those has to do with the answer that you just gave us. But how shall we put in practice a policy that would make this something a preferred thing, the spirituality? And how can we really make the top management and the supervisors incorporate them and understand that this is a preferred option? In organizations where we basically have three interests, which is the employer, the unions, and the employees, how can we all manage to integrate these aspects and also overcome the low wages problem? How can they be incorporated in the training programs for professionals according to this new model that you're proposing?
Okay. Ms. Poindexter?
I'll start, but I believe Dr. Geist will probably have a few things to say about this also. The quality of life that is inherent as a benefit from being willing to change certain behaviors is something that needs to be stressed. I understand that a lot of cultures are dealing with situations, so I don't want to belabor that part, since in my own experience that was never really an issue. And the quality of life, all of the benefits that come from a wellness program is something that's so very important to enhance a person's well-being and life. So, Dr. Geist, if you'd like to elaborate a little bit.
Very briefly.
Okay. I think one of the ways that you can do it is by considering each and every project that you engage in the organization, and consider how you can tie this process, and I think Linda's right in emphasizing the process, how can you tie this process to the process of completing each and every project? So it's part of the monitoring of that project, it's part of the evaluation of that project, so it's not something separate, it's something that's integrated as you go along.
Super. Thank you very much, both of you. Our next question is from the Servicio Nacional de Aprendizaje Comercial Porto Alegre. And if we could have the question, please.
Good afternoon. In Brazil, the stress is so high because of the current economic and political situation. Could you give us some examples of basic situations when organizations can improve their spirituality and the health of the people in all areas? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Poindexter, some
All right.
examples.
A caring attitude demonstrated by the people who are in a position of making decisions. When you have a workforce that is under a lot of stress, the need to be cared about, to have them understand that their well-being is important to you and to the company. The stress is usually because there's conflicts between wanting to please more than one situation and feeling frustrated and not having a clear way of being able to address these conflicting views. So having an underlying base where it's understood that the company and, more importantly, the individuals that make up that company's image have a caring nature about them. And I think when you're interviewing for different kinds of positions in a program, that be very highly stressed as one of the most important things to look for.
Very good, thank you. Our next question comes to us from the Universidad Privada Boliviana, Cochabamba, from Bolivia. Question, please.
Muy buenos días. Teniendo en cuenta la
Good
comunicación
morning.
organizacional
Taking into
es muy
account the
importante,
organizational
quisiera
communication
saber cómo se
and that
puede
is so
mejorar
important, I'd like
la
to know how
calidad
to
del flujo
improve
de
the quality of
información
information
en una
flow
organización
in
en
an
la que
organization
prevalecen
where
los canales
the
informales
informal channels rather prevail and which constantly affect the well-being of an organization. Thank you.
I'm going to tender this question to Dr. Geist and look at the communication and information flow. and how that affects spirituality, well-being.
Okay. I think we do have a tendency to believe, as people who make decisions and guide organizations, that of the power of the formal structure of communication. And I think what you're saying is very important, and that is that the informal lines of communication are very powerful, and a lot of research shows that they're more powerful than even the formal networks, that people will tend to listen to something they hear informally over what they get in an email or a memo. And so that what that tells us then is, how do we construct on a day-to-day basis relationships with people so that we're communicating in ways that we trust, communicating in ways that we feel as if someone cares about what we're doing, and that we actually utilize rather than try to suppress those informal lines of communication. I think it's foolish to assume that let's get it only from the direct source and let's try to squelch the informal, when indeed that is one of the most valuable forms of communication we can utilize.
Good. Thank you very much. Our next question comes to us from the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, Facultad de Estudios Superiores Cuautitlan, from Mexico. And the question, please.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
¿Cómo establecer
How
programas
can we
que
establish
fomenten la
programs that
espiritualidad
will promote
sin alterar los
spirituality
programas
without
de
altering
trabajo en
the
empresas
work programs in
industriales
industrial
con gran demanda?
organizations that have a lot to do?
Okay, great question, Ms. Poindexter. The establishment of programs where other existing programs are in place.
Yeah, I covered that briefly when I went through my module. When you have a program in place, it's very important to... could you repeat that last part of the
Yes,
question one more time? I'm sorry.
The integration of programs dealing with spirituality and well-being in organizations that have a myriad of other programs already in place. How do you integrate and make that work?
Okay. When you're introducing a program that is, I'm assuming that this is not in a conflicting situation, that you're looking for harmony in all of the programs. For my personal experience, offering it as a choice, allowing the people to gravitate to it in a natural way, offering attractive programs, things that are fun, that allow people to want to become a part of it, where it's not part of something that's mandatory, and definitely not parental, where it's something that has a quality to it that makes it fun. Very important.
Good, great, thank you. Our next call comes to us from the Comisión Federal de Electricidad, Unidad Central de Captación in Mexico.
Bueno.
Good morning.
Sí, señorita.
Yes, the question, please.
We would like to give us our heartfelt greeting to all of you, because this is a wonderful program. Given that the organization's well-being is generated from the individual and family well-being, when we say that the best activity of man is I would like to ask you what the difference is between spirit and soul, and how to stay healthy in order to keep our bodies going. It's important to have a happy life, and then we'll have a happy work life.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Geist, would you address that one for us, please?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think a lot of what Linda has said in her presentation really emphasizes that we have too long set a boundary between the organization and our personal life. And even though there sometimes is a difficult struggle of interweaving our personal and organizational life, I do believe that if we are able to integrate into our own lives these principles, rather than saying we're doing them at work, if we do them in our own life, then we're living them, and we're creating and constructing lives with our families and our friends that we then can more easily and more naturally integrate those into the organization.
Thank you. Our last question of the morning will be from the Universidad La Salle, Pachuca Hidalgo, Mexico. And if we could have the question, please.
Buenos días.
Yes.
Nuestra pregunta es la
Our
siguiente.
question is the
¿Qué
following.
tanto influyen
How can unions
para promover
influence
el ambiente de
in
salud
order
y
to
bienestar
promote
de
this
las
well-being
empresas y de instituciones?
in feeling in the organizations and institutions in general?
How can unions influence this?
Very good question. An alliance between unions and the employees is a natural extension, and I believe that management can see readily the benefits. And since the unions represent the employees, to have them support this would be in their very best interests. And an alliance in that way would certainly benefit all. It would be a natural way of having that information flow out from all areas. And I think that would be an excellent source of communication. Just have them be willing to see that it benefits them as well.
And at least in the U.S., ladies, we find that unions are very supportive of programs like this.
Yes,
I want everyone to be
that's
there.
always, that in my situation, that's been the case.
Great. Thank you both for those answers and the input. And thank you all for your excellent questions. But we have run out of time, and I'd like to thank Dr. Geist and Ms. Poindexter once again for their valuable input. We hope that you have enjoyed participating in this video conference. And thank you to all of our associates for their enthusiastic participation. The International Training Center will continue transmitting programs on topics crucial to improving our productivity and global competitiveness. We invite you to participate on September 24th, 1998, in the 9th program of our 1998 series entitled Investment and Entrepreneurship, Strategies in a Global Setting, the Key to Sustainable Success. For additional information on the International Training Center's programs for this year, please consult your participant's manual, where you will find the dates and specific topics for each program. Also, if you are interested in participating in training programs which will be offered by the International Training Center, please contact the Center by letter, phone, or fax. On behalf of all of us who collaborate with the International Training Center, I thank you for your participation and interest in today's program. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.